Today, we'll briefly talk about the massive story in Marvel Rivals. We'll use in-game assets, trailers, and comics, which are being published to get you all caught up with the general storyline of this game. And if you want to hear more about Marvel Rivals characters and its story, get this video to 700 likes, and I'll do just that. This story starts off with two Doctor Dooms experimenting with powers and concept that no average mortal should touch. But Doctor Doom is far from average. During their experiments with the laws of time, Doctor Doom and his 2099 counterpart created a catastrophic event known as the Time Stream Entanglement, in which multiple timelines fused together. This fusion created orbs of concentrated chronoval energy known as Chronovium. This is when the daughter of Galactus, Galacta, comes into play. Just like her father, she has an insatiable hunger, but uses these orbs to curb it. In order to still consume them without worrying about the collapse of multiple realities, she preserves a handful of timelines, which are now dubbed the Chronoverse. These Chronoverse are the stages where the main game takes place. They contain different versions of iconic Marvel heroes and villains. Each of these characters have slightly different motivations and personalities than the characters that you may be used to in classic Marvel stories. There is a growing number of Earths and timelines being added to Marvel Rivals' story every season. Let's start with the events happening on Doom's present-day Earth. Here his quest for ultimate power begins. Seeking to reshape time, he targets a vampiric spell, a forbidden one found in the Darkhold. It was used by Dracula centuries ago to cheat death. After Doctor Strange refuses to help with this request, this is when Doom continues his experiments and eventually triggers the timeline entanglement, fracturing the multiverse. This is when Doctor Strange's astral form gets trapped in a different plane of existence. Doom then allies with Dracula, using Chronovium and Dracula's blood to freeze New York in an endless night, unleashing a vampire army upon the city. And amidst the chaos, Squirrel Girl teams up with Ratataskar, a being from Yggdrasil. What makes Ratataskar interesting is its horns, which has the power to kill Dracula. It is no wonder why Dracula tries to ambush them. However, Loki and Hela intervene to help, but Dracula was still able to come out on top by escaping with Ratataskar. Meanwhile, Scarlet Witch from a different Earth is now the Sorcerer Supreme and works with Strange's astral form to help him return to his body. Even though the two have joined forces, the only solution may be a spell called the Montessori Formula, which is a spell in the Darkhold that will kill all vampires, including the many human victims in the process too. The tricky part is that the Darkhold at this time belongs to Khonshu. However, Strange wins the Darkhold back from him after a game of Senate. And the thing to know about Khonshu is that he's a sore loser. And what I mean by that is that even though he upholds his bargain with Strange and gives the Darkhold back, he immediately tries to take it back with force. This is when Wanda rescues Strange once again, but the Darkhold's binding of the pages disintegrates, meaning that pages of this powerful book is littered throughout New York City, as well as the spell that could kill all vampires. Tony Stark and Reed Richards, on the other hand, scramble to develop a cure to vampirism, but face Doom's interference after he hijacks satellite communications. This resorts to them using Squirrel Girl's squirrels to exchange data. At the same time, Spider-Man, Blade, and the Human Torch battle vampires in New York City, as well as Tokyo 2099. During this battle, Blade sacrifices himself to save his allies and is captured by Dracula. And with tensions rising and things looking quite bleak, Moon Knight and Iron Man forms what is called the Eternity Knights, dedicated to wiping out vampires completely, even at the cost of human lives. Wolverine, Winter Soldier, and Psylocke join their cause, while the Fantastic Four and Squirrel Girl argue for a cure instead. One of the cool things that also happens is that Black Panther shows up with a heart-shaped herb. In the comic books, this herb has the potential to fight back against vampirism, which might come in handy since Dracula turned Black Panther into a vampire. T'Challa was able to best Dracula and steal the blood Chronovium, which was key in starting the Endless Nights to begin with. Also, with the help of Shuri, Reed was able to build a small version of a gadget called the Time Stream Reintegration Device, or TRD for short. The original one was sabotaged by Tony because he really wants to kill all vampires by any means necessary. Regardless, this thing was able to revert many vampires near Reed back into humans by rewinding time locally to just their body. However, this also caused Black Panther to revert back into a vampire as well. Luckily, there are a number of ways to help him though. And while we're talking about the events of New York, let's talk about two other points of interest. For comic book lovers and MCU watchers, you may know this place as the Sanctum Sanctorum, aka Doctor Strange's home in New York. It serves as a deathmatch, which makes perfect sense since all types of people visit the Sorcerer Supreme. And when Doctor Strange was trapped in a different plane of existence / dimension, Wong was here to guard the area. But you can also find other people like Zelma and Bats the dog. But if we say that the Sanctum Sanctorum is Doctor Strange's domain, then Central Park is home to the strongest hero in all the multiverses. The one, the only, Squirrel Girl. First of her name, Miss Undefeatable, Muncher of Nuts, and Slayer of Galactus. Since she knows her furry friends were in grave danger, she asks for help from Reed Richards. Together, they hope to free Asgard, whose horns could easily pierce through Dracula's protections, which you see here. Or you may see Moon Knight sneak his way into the castle and steal the Montessori formula. I bet Dracula wish he gave Moon Knight his money now. And briefly for this section of New York, I just want to point out it's my headcanon. It's not really official, but you may think that since Reed was able to cure some of the humans, that would be enough for Iron Man and Moon Knight. But no, you have to remember that this device won't wipe out every single vampire on the planet. These creatures can stay in hiding and avoid the cure altogether. They've been doing it for centuries, just avoiding humans and staying hidden in the night. So there's still a chance that Tony and the Eternity Knights want to rid the whole world of all vampires for good, so something like this never happens again. Regardless, on the Midtown map, we see a mechanized Iron Man suit, which I want to say is Tony Stark's Sentinel Buster, which comic book lovers of the X-Men may recognize. I'm not 100% sure though. Regardless, we see a flock of bats and or vampires ruin Team Iron Man's plan. Basically on this map, we have Team Reed Richards, who wants to recover the Darkhold to prevent the killing of innocent humans. They plan on doing this with Herbie, who will scan the city and find the missing pages of the Darkhold. If this team succeeds, you'll see an animation of Wanda and Doctor Strange gathering them. On the flip side, Team Iron Man and Moon Knight wants the Darkhold to end all these shenanigans, even at the cost of the humans who got turned into vampires by force. You will see Moon Knight break Herbie's cart if the defense wins. Basically, the story of Midtown is a civil war, and I would like to think that each cutscenes that we see is a possibility that happens on a different Earth, as well as in the future of Marvel Rivals stories as they continue to release more maps. As alliances fracture and the multiverse unravels, the heroes must make a final choice: find a cure or total annihilation. The fate of all timelines hangs in the balance. But let's travel to the future for a second here, where Doom has launched a full-scale conquest, forcing a resistance of freedom fighters to rise against them. Meanwhile, in Tokyo, the entanglement is tearing a rift in the web of life and destiny, which is a connective force for the multiverse. This is when we start to see more characters related to the Spider-Man mythos of Marvel. The Master Weaver, aka Karen, believes that the rift can strengthen the web, while his apprentice Spider-Zero gathers more web warriors, which includes Spider-Man, Penny Parker, Spider-Punk, and Bagman to mend the damage. This is when I want to mention that Marvel Rivals has a whole web series being produced by Infinity Comics. It tells the story of Tokyo 2099, where Penny Parker leads a team under Spider-Zero's goal to mend the web of life, while Master Weaver has a team that believes there's another way to fix the decay. The two clash on how this could be accomplished. This whole web series is really cool because it combines in-game mechanics like superhero team-ups that you see between the likes of Venom and Penny Parker, Strange/Hulk's Gamma Buff, and of course the Fastball Special, which was first tried with Venom, but Hulk quickly realizes that it works better with Wolverine. However, they also include team-ups like Squirrel Girls and Spider-Man's Explosive/Sticky Nuts. Be sure to like and subscribe to this channel so YouTube knows that you like this kind of content. This comic also shows us that Galacta has the power to just switch heroes in and out of battle. Overall, it ends with Jeff stealing Neymar's staff, which contains a bunch of chronovium, and fixing the web of life and destiny through cyberspace in the process too. I want to say that the event's endgame may be a little different than how the comic book ends. This is because Spider-Zero actually gets banished from Spider Island by the Master Weaver. It is the goal of the offensive team to lead Spider-Zero back to Spider Island in the Spider Car. Basically, Spider-Zero believes that to repair the rift, they need to upload the web of life and destiny to cyberspace, while Master Weaver thinks they just need more chronovium. And while we're at it, I don't know why Spider-Zero needs a car, seeing how she can just swing and crawl to places. Let me know down below if you know why. Regardless, if they fail, Master Weaver comes crashing down and stopping all of this foolishness once and for all. Overall, on Spider Island, if the offensive team wins, we see Spider-Zero cash some spider magic to close the rift, while if the defense wins, then Master Weaver does the same thing. And I guess the moral of this story is that there's really multiple ways to skin a cat. While the events in Tokyo 2099 seems completed, there's still the story of resistance fighters that we have to talk about. Black Widow is a key member and leader of it. She was able to infiltrate a facility to rescue Captain America, who has been frozen since World War II. With the help of Wolverine's Krakoan neurotoxin, she succeeds. She then recruits the likes of Punisher, who teams up with Wolverine to uncover the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. There, Shuri equips Punisher with a special type of vibranium shield and collaborates with Reed Richards and Tony Stark to study the chronovium effects on vibranium. Captain America works with Black Panther and assembles elite warriors across timelines, including Hawkeye and Winter Soldier, the same Hawkeye who blends his Ronin past with his current identity, and rescues Winter Soldier from a Hydra base in Antarctica. This base has ties to an occult experiment that fuses Winter Soldier's arms with tentacle-like appendages. During their escape, they encounter a massive portal releasing a tentacle creature from it, However, with Hawkeye's sword, they manage to sever some of the tentacles and close the portal. If he's not able to break his brainwash, then on a different Earth/timeline, he opens the door for this monster, who I want to say is either Chthon or Sumeragara. Both can be considered heavy hitters, with Chthon, in my opinion, being a lot more scary and powerful. However, there seems to be lasting effects on Winter Soldier's arm. Shuri later provides the Winter Soldier with a new cybernetic arm, but the dark energy persists, causing these tentacles to emerge under certain conditions, again and again and again. And as this unfolds, Spider-Zero sends messages written on Chronovium shards to alternate versions of herself, while Penny Parker continues her work maintaining the web of life and destiny. And seeing how we mentioned Shuri not too long ago, let's talk about Wakanda and their intergalactic empire. You see, they're facing a couple of internal problems too. Shuri fears that the Panther goddess Bass has been corrupted, especially after her encounters with the Winter Soldier. Black Panther also senses a looming darkness, one that not only endangers Bass, but could also divide the heroes as their conflicting goals spark tensions. Bass has a sister, also known as the Betrayer, who warns Black Panther of a challenge ahead, urging him to act before it's too late. Shuri, on the other hand, believes that the Time Stream Reintegration Device, or TRD for short, may hold the key to fixing the entanglement, but it requires a power source far greater than anything that may currently exist. She identifies that chronovibranium, formed in the place of immense power, like Wakanda's vibranium star, as the only substance capable of powering such a device. However, Black Panther still fears the dark entity that may be corrupting Bask could seize this power for its own destructive purposes. To uncover the truth, Black Panther enters the spiritual plane from Wakanda's throne world. There he discovers the truth. Bass's spirit has been ensnared by a dark force. A spiritual realm known as Jalia starts to merge with the capital city. Determined to save Bass and protect his people, Black Panther devises a plan to bind her spirit within the chronovibranium. He hopes by doing so he can not only liberate Bass, but also use her restored power to combat the looming dark entity. This is where the statue comes into play. If you pay close attention, you might notice that it actually holds Bass's essence. If the attackers wins, then you see Bass free itself from the evil entity. If the defenders wins, then this is where you see the darkness take control, by merging the capital city with the astral plane. There's also this pretty cool detail that if defenders push back Bass, you can see it kind of do a retreating/scared pose that some cats do in real life. Best believe that stakes are rising high across the galaxy as Black Panther fights to protect Wakanda, its spirit, and the multiverse itself from the creeping chaos of the entanglement. Shuri is quite busy with other matters too. Faced with the growing threat of Knull, the god of symbiotes, she reaches out to the Guardians of the Galaxy, Star-Lord, Rocket, and Groot, to stop him. However, their ship crash lands on Klyntar, leaving them stranded and separated. Rocket scavenges advanced technology from the Kree, Shi'ar, and Skrull wreckage, while Groot bonds with the planet's symbiotic plant life. Amid the chaos, a fragment of Knull's essence begins to stir, and if it grows powerful enough, it can unleash Knull's wrath. This is where the backdrop of this game/map takes place. On one side, you have the Guardians of the Galaxy, who plan to bury the essence deeper into the planet to prevent it from empowering Knull. However, we see Venom arrive with a different goal. The same Venom who has been displaced from a completely different timeline. He had attempted to retrieve the all-black Necro Sword, the only weapon that he believes is capable of killing Knull, but he failed to pull it out from the Celestial and went slayed. Now he believes harnessing a fragment of Knull's essence is the only way to free the Dark God and slay him once and for all. This puts Venom at odds with the Guardians, leading to a heated conflict over the fate of Klyntar. Meanwhile, we see Adam Warlock, another character displaced from a different timeline during the entanglement. He was able to uncover Knull's role as the dark force corrupting Wakanda's way of life. Adam Warlock also encounters the likes of Odin's consciousness, the Phoenix, and the Celestial that Knull seeks to claim. Arriving on Klyntar, he joins forces with Venom, knowing their combined strength will be crucial in confronting Knull himself. And expect more characters to be involved in this storyline. Hela is one of them, who is warned by another symbiote of Knull's plan. However, she plots to exploit this situation. She is quite unafraid of Knull's power and secretly wants to betray Loki, which is interesting, seeing how this version of Loki sees a potential timeline where he rules over Asgard, which is why he recruited Hela in the first place, basically making this possible future a reality. He kinda succeeds by tricking Thor into being trapped in the Tower of Solitude. But this is Thor we're talking about. He won't stay trapped for long. He eventually returns to face Loki, but is attacked by Hela and her army of the dead. It seems like this investment from Loki is paying out for the time being, which is why we saw Thor land here earlier to confront him at the end of the Royal Palace map. Or you might see Loki on the throne, depending on what team you're on. For Use Yourselves Path, the goal is for one team to lead Jambon to stop Loki's device from draining the World Tree. Fun fact, that Jarnbjorn was the act Thor used before he got worthy to wield Mjolnir. However, if the offense loses, then we see Loki literally crush that plan into pieces. Regardless, as Knull's influence spreads across the realms, more heroes' paths converge on Klyntar, where the battle of Knull's essence and the fate of the multiverse escalates to a breaking point, which has yet to be written. But we're not done with Wakanda either. It seems that many heroes and characters are converging on this interstellar empire, including the likes of Mantis, Jeff the Landshark, and Psylocke. This version of Mantis was originally captured by the Collector and imprisoned in his latest twisted creation, a galactic theme park. This led Mantis to be trapped in a crucial arena deathmatch. She uses her powers to connect two unlikely allies, Jeff and Psylocke, who are also held captive. As Mantis fights against another version of herself in the arena, the alternate Mantis helps her detach her consciousness and forms a new plant-based body outside the confines of the arena. Together they free Psylocke and Jeff. During their journey, they encounter a massive whale-like creature suffering from a belly full of parasitic brood, and of course they help this whale-like creature. And in return, the creature agrees to take them to the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. And along the way, Psylocke picks up a faint signal from Krakoa, which gives her hope that there is a way to return home. And speaking of Krakoa, there's also Arakko, which the two coexist as living mutant islands, with Storm serving as the governing council for both. During the time stream entanglement, the two islands temporarily merge, causing landmarks and creatures to fuse into bizarre hybrids. And I promise you, no pun intended, but a storm of chronovium particles rain down, animating the island's terrain and sparking battles between the living life forms. As this weather phenomenon continues, Storm uses her powers to calm the temporal chaos, successfully separating Krakoa and Arakko. However, both islands were displaced and transported to another Earth. Magneto was also a part of the council, working alongside Storm, and soon welcomed new allies, which included the likes of the Scarlet Witch, Magik, and Wolverine, as well as a young unnamed mutant with the rare abilities to cross dimensions. My best guess is that this could be America Chavez, who we did see in the Multiverse of Madness and has the power to cross dimensions. Regardless, Magik is also considered a general for Limbo, and was approached by the Scarlet Witch to utilize her soul magic to help stabilize the entanglement and assist Doctor Strange. Meanwhile, Namor, who is driven by his ambition to conquer the surface world, travels to meet with Magneto, Magik, and Storm. He proposes an alliance, but Magneto firmly declines, warning Namor that he would not allow another genocide. You know things are pretty rough when Magneto is the one who makes the most sense in the room. Despite Magneto rejecting his proposal, the rest at least gives Namor asylum on Krakoa, seeing how he is a mutant. And I guess this would be a good time to mention the likes of Luna Snow. She's in good favors with Namor since she healed his well, the same whale who washed up on a beach near one of her shows. For all we know, maybe Nemar's well is just a big fan of hers, seeing how she is a pop star. As of right now, that's all I have for you guys in this video. I know I might have left out a lot in the story of Marvel Rivals, but like I said, this was just briefly going over the story of the game so you can get the general idea of what's going on. If you want to hear more of me breaking down the story of Marvel Rivals, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And briefly let me know down below if there's anything that I purposely left out that you want me to cover for others to enjoy. But till then, stay safe, be a KDA warrior, and I'll see you later.